Spectrum West on WPR. Good to have you along this week. The right to vote is the foundation of democracy. It took a lot of work for women to gain that right. We have a couple conversations this week designed to highlight our regional approach to the preservation of this coveted entitlement, beginning with a special event at the Mabel Tainter in Menomonie. It's designed to remember the 15th Amendment. Eau Claire Women in Theater, represented today by Debbie Brown, and the League of Women Voters, Greater Chippewa Valley, represented by Anne-Marie McClellan, are presenting Failure is Impossible as part of Women's History Month. I asked ecWIT's Debbie Brown about emerging from the restrictions of a pandemic.
We were just so thrilled to get together to be able to perform at all. And we had this piece that we had been working on and did it virtually in 2020, but it's just not quite the same as performing together on stage. So we're so happy that we're able to do that. And we've been revamping the script a little bit as we've been working together.
Did you use or have extra time? And if
yeah.
did you write? I'm kind of like a teacher here, wondering if you used your time wisely, Debbie.
Well, if you're my teacher, I would say, yes, of course I
sure.
did.
Oh,
I studied every night. Yeah.
Good for you.
We've been exploring different things to do in different venues because everything was so up in the air. And we, like most people, work best with a deadline. So once we have something scheduled and once we have a goal in sight here for us to start working together. But no, there's stuff on the horizon.
Good.
Yeah.
I should point out, too, your website offers a variety of video entertainment. There's some nice production done there. I've become a fan of The Ugly Wolverine, which was kind of fun. Do you guys do all that video yourself? I mean, there's music and there's animation.
We're lucky to have Ann Pearson part of our group, and she is a techno whiz. And then we did, when we were performing, have someone come in to professionally record some of the stuff.
And, of course, we're talking about Failure is Impossible. Anne-Marie McClellan, the League of Women Voters, has Wisconsin roots, and this year it's 102 years old. Your chapter formed in 2017. There is, I'm sure, an awareness on the part of today's members of the battles that it took prior to August of 1920. And ironically, these 100-plus years later, the right to vote and the act of voting are again up against some new challenges. Tell us how the League, the Greater Chippewa Valley chapter, are meeting some of those challenges.
Al, we're trying to meet those challenges in a variety of ways through education. That's our biggest outreach right now. Voting and ability, especially absentee voting, is really being challenged. We had a nice forum on that, and that's on our website if anybody wants to go and listen to that. Yeah, it's constant. I mean, democracy is, they call it not a spectator sport. You have to be involved, and I think that that's the lesson we have learned from studying the suffragettes, helping to understand them and get this performance together and the work that they did. We're kind of using them as models.
Wisconsin on a list of a handful of states considered to be crucial in at least a few ways. How does the Greater Chippewa Valley, how do you work with other local or regional chapters and the state organization?
The state office is in Madison, and there's chapters all across the state. We all work together. If there's candidate forums, when you're talking about candidate congressional district, you're going to go across a number of different chapters. And we share information. Gerrymandering has been a big focus this past year, trying to get a process for fair maps in front of the legislature so that they could vote on it. And that's a continuing battle that we'll also focus on, as well as making sure that it's easy to get out there and vote.
That's the voice of Anne-Marie McClellan. She's representing the League of Women Voters, the Greater Chippewa Valley chapter. Also on the phone is Debbie Brown, who is one of the originators of, it's called ecWIT, but it stands for Eau Claire Women in Theater. Give us a playwright's conception of Failure is Impossible. It's influential women times two. There are a couple parts, I believe, to it.
There are 10 suffragists who come back to life to convince a modern voter that it's important for her to go and vote, using the history of the movement to instill in her the need and the pride for women to go vote. So we have five women from the 19th century, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and some of those buddies. And then we have five that were active when the 19th Amendment finally passed. We get to experience more than one character on stage.
Kind of a history lesson for you. You must find the kinds of things that you have to do prior to writing things like this completely enlightening. Do you come to appreciate things?
Oh, very much so. And I can't claim to have written this whole thing.
Okay.
We divided up the history, and whichever section, we were drawn to, we did the research and decided which scenes, which quotes, which information we found fascinating. It could be 6 hours long for all the things that we found fascinating about these women and what they had to go through. But we reduced it to about 45 minutes. I'm ashamed, actually, that I didn't know as much about it as I should have. The audience will be enlightened as well.
Anne-Marie, how did this collaboration, this show come together? Failure is Impossible. Who reached out to whom? Who reached out to whom? And how did it happen?
Well, it happened in 2019 as we were preparing for the centennial in 2020. And Margie Hageman, past president of the league, got together with, I don't know if she got together with you, Debbie?
Yeah, Kathleen Sullivan and I were both in on some of the initial meetings.
Our league, back as a fundraiser for 2020, published a suffragette calendar. So we learned about at least a dozen suffragettes that we put in our calendar. And so we were very interested in the lives of these women through our research, which is very similar to the research that Debbie has done, I imagine. Mm-hmm. And so we were going to do this play at the Rossbach Museum in Menomonie, but then COVID happened. There was a lot of suffragette celebrations that were postponed in 2020 because of COVID. And we just talked about, the performance and decided we should do it this year. The Women's History Month just seems like the perfect time. We feel safe enough to do it in person at the Mabel Tainter Theater. It's very exciting to be able to do it in a dramatic reading like this in a historic theater.
I agree.
The audience is getting the easy way out on their history lesson day.
That's right. Well, we're hoping it's fun as well.
It's an original play. It's called Failure is Impossible, playing on a couple of occasions. Thursday, March 3rd, as Anne-Marie alluded, at the Mabel Tainter, and then again Tuesday, the 8th of March, at Peace Lutheran Church.
The Peace performance, that is for the Chippewa Valley Learning and Retirement.
It's easy to donate or attend with the rest of the crowd, but it's quite another deed to literally get involved and pour oneself into something. Thank you for pouring yourself into this. Anne-Marie McClellan and Debbie Brown, thank you for being with us on WPR. From West, we look forward to the performance.
Can I add one thing?
No. Sure you can.
Thank you. About the performance, I just want to say it will be free for everyone in attendance, so people can just drop in. The doors open at 6 o'clock that evening, March 3rd. We're hoping to get a nice turnout, especially some young people. Maybe some parents might want to bring their children. It's a history lesson, but it's also a lesson in dedication and hard work, just being involved in your community and democracy.
You bet.
We'll have a little bit of a social afterwards so people can come up and make sure they're ready to register to vote in the April elections and kind of meet some more of the league people.
Anne-Marie McClellan, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on, Al.
Debbie, keep us posted on all those things you said you're working on.
I will. Thank you so much.
And again, a reminder, the March 8th performance is for members of